sitting Fine Gael councillor in this local electoral area. Susan Gallagher, Green Party candidate. Ronan Cleary, candidate for Aontu. Is that how it's correct, Ernest?
That's correct, yeah.
That's correct, yeah. And John Hearne, sitting Sinn Fein councillor. Susan Gallagher, I'll start with you. You're here just directly in front of me, Green Party. Why should people vote for you?
Well, if you care about environmental issues, you should vote for me. I joined the Green Party because I'm very concerned about climate change and biodiversity, the loss of biodiversity. So the policies that we have reflect that. I'd like to make it easier to get around Waterford on foot, by bike, in a wheelchair, on the bus, so that we're not so reliant on cars. I'd like to see an awful lot more greenery in the city, trees that are suitable for a city environment, lots of flowers that are suitable for pollinators to protect biodiversity. And I'm a civil engineer with my area of expertise is water and flooding. So there's soft engineering techniques that we can use to deal with rainwater and prevent flooding and reduce its impact, which is going to be crucial as climate change becomes apparent.
John Cummins, Fine Gael.
Hi, Damien.
Why should anybody think of voting for John Cummins or for Fine Gael?
Well, Damien, I've been a councillor for 10 years. I was elected as the youngest councillor on Waterford City and County Council back in 2009. I'm still the youngest candidate that's running in this area. I don't know what that says about the rest of them. But look, I'm from the area. I work in the area. I'm literally after coming across from St. Paul's Community College to do this interview in the Liz Duggan Shopping Centre. I've been working in the area for 10 years and I believe that the work that I've done on the ground, I'd ask people to judge me based on that.
John Hearne, Sinn Féin. Why should people vote for you or for Sinn Féin?
I think my track record speaks for itself. I think if you see politics as a very simple politics is how do you bring your people to a better place? And I think in every aspect of my life I've achieved that. Just even on the environment front, you know, we brought in the pollination programme for the bees. We brought in bee highways. If you go around the ring roads now, you'll see that. We brought in free water fonts. We got that in lately. We achieved that. I got a motion in to get that done. We brought in free water. Other parties took it away. We brought in all the advances on that. We brought in another thing I had to pass the motion on was on water disability friendly city. So everywhere you go in the city and every road now that's put down the smooth path so you don't have to pull up wheelchairs and all that. And
every footpath you're saying?
No, every footpath they put down now from the new ones,
yeah.
Every single thing has to be passed as disability friendly, which is a major achievement for disability people. But most of all, I stand on my role as a leader in the community. When the community comes under pressure from either drug gangs or people pressurising families, I'm the first person there, and we've faced them down as best we can.
Okay, we'll come back to those issues in a second. Ronan Cleary, candidate for Aontu. Why should people vote for you or for Aontu?
Well, Damien, Aontu are a new political party set up 4 months ago by Pádraig Tabín. Basically, we're just trying to challenge the political establishment to get new lifeblood into Irish politics. People are very disaffected with politics now at the moment. We're hearing that on the doorstep. The confidence and supply agreement up in Dublin isn't going down well in the provinces, especially down in Waterford, our city, that's been basically underinvested for a generation. So I, as a new candidate, as a GP in the community that hears the concerns of people on a daily basis, I've decided to put myself forward as a candidate for the County Council because I think I can actually make a difference, a real difference to people's lives and put pressure, extra pressure, as a medical doctor to bring 24/7 cardiac care to the people of Waterford, which is badly needed. I also have a number of ideas to get university starters for WIT and actually obtain a carrier for our local airport. So therefore, I would be asking people to vote for Aontu, to get new blood into the political environment.
Okay, we'll talk about some of those issues in a second. I just want to come back to you in a second, Susan and John. John Hearne, Sinn Féin, are you worried about the likes of Aontu trying to steal your clothes? Like, this is a Pádraig Tabín initiative. This is an offshoot of Sinn Féin. Are people coming in to try to... Are you under pressure from the likes of Aontu?
Not at all, and I'd like to welcome him on board. And I know that the doctor, the surgery he works for, sponsors a lot of the projects in our parish, which we're delighted to have. But in the last local election, and I'd be a very good friend of Francis Brolly, who'd be a very senior Republican in Northern Ireland, who I had great respect for, and he stood for Aontu, and the only elected one candidate of all the candidates across the border. So I always welcome fresh voices into the debate, But I think a single issue party, I think they're getting very marginalised.
I'll come back to you. Okay, go on. Quick
No,
answer.
no,
on that.
well, I would say that we did very well in the north. We got 7% of the vote in the constituencies that we stood in. We got 1.1% of the overall vote. Just because of the way the seats are split, we nearly should have got as many seats as People Before Profit. But 1% and with the council up in Derry is a very good start for a party that's only 4 months old. And we are not just a one-party issue, believe you me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Green Party. Susan, do you get this on the doors at all? Are you being accused of being a one-party issue, one-issue party?
I don't really get it on the doors that much. I mean, we make no
bones about it. You're very-
about the fact
Yeah.
that climate change, that type of environmental issues are front and centre of our policies. But we are obviously very concerned about housing. We have policies on that. We've been involved in the cardiac care protests. We are going to continue to do that until we get what Waterford needs.
What difference would you make? What's wrong with what the likes of John and John Cummins are doing here in the council?
Well, I'd like to acknowledge the very hard work that these two men do, and I am aware of the work that they do in the council, and that they do work very hard. But we've just had a climate emergency declared, biodiversity emergency declared. We need a green voice and green thinking in every aspect of society. Waterford has been ranked 25 out of 29 counties for delivering on climate change targets. So we need all hands on deck. It's an addition to the hard work they're already doing.
Okay, John Cummins, are you getting local issues on the doorstep or national issues? Like, obviously, the party, we're not going to go into the machinations of the party internally, your father having stepped down from the executive locally, and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to get into that now. We're not going to talk about John Deasy.
Fair play
We're
to
not
you,
going to
David.
get into that.
It's nice to be able to throw them all in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We're not going to talk about the
course
mortuary.
not.
We're not going to talk about all those things. What are you getting on the doorsteps?
Well, to be honest with you, it is a lot of local issues. Probably the one that has come up the most to me on the doors is housing. I think John would probably acknowledge that it has come up a lot, be it social housing, affordable housing, private housing. And I'm somebody that has worked extensively in that area, particularly over the last 2 years. I've been involved in delivering projects on the ground, 33 units at Carrickfearish, 31 at Bounds Court. There's 55 being developed at Lacken. We're involved in delivering the repair and lease scheme and the Lighthalf Road at Kilbarry to open up all that land bank. So I'm someone that is doing the work on the ground.
And do we want to
Damien,
talk
and that's
about what
some-
Fine Gael is not delivering locally? Are we going to talk about those issues that I said we weren't going to talk about?
Well, you can take the issues if you want, Damien. Like I made no bounds.
No, absolutely. John Hearne.
I think a huge issue is credibility. And
Credibility?
did Fine Gael deliver on what they said they would deliver on the 24/7? No, they didn't. As we stand in this constituency, we've three...
It's coming. This is coming, John.
No,
It's coming.
Not, no. As you see in this constituency, we have three Fine
Well, John,
Gael...
if you want to be clear about it, David Cullinan has also signed up to the delivery of the Sutton Cat Lab at University Hospital Waterford.
No,
Every
John Hearne.
party is on
They're
the
all
same
signed
hook.
up, yeah, go on.
No, it's amazing the way...
Every
if you
party.
saw what Fine Gael... As I said, what do you do to improve people's lives? And look what they done in Waterford. They brought in the bin charges, right? They brought in the water charges, right? They're bringing in the carbon tax. And the
There
same,
is no
I'm
water
always
charge.
concerned about, especially the Green Party, when they were in power, the very first thing they done was they gave all the money to the banks and the bondholders. They reduced the minimum wage. And basically, they're only the garden department of Fine Gael that they,
You see,
they don't
you might get
deliver
on
what
well
they
with
say.
John Cummins locally on an individual basis,
Yeah.
but
Which we
do Sinn Féin, do you hate Fine Gael?
I hate nobody. No, I hate
Because
nobody.
hatred's not
I
good.
think, no, hate
Do you
is a bad
seriously
thing.
dislike Fine Gael?
Not at all. I have no dislike for Fine Gael. No, I have certain dislike for members of Fianna Fáil.
You were telling people
But
in the
I
paper
have
the other
no-
day to
yeah.
vote for Sharon Carey.
I said to vote for Sharon Carey if you couldn't vote for Sinn Féin, vote for her because I thought she was a good community voice for her area.
And why wouldn't you say
No.
vote for another Sinn Féin person?
No, I did say vote for Sinn Féin, but if you're a die-hard Fine Gael, go and vote for that other person. Because
Right.
I thought she stood up when we brought up the mortuary issue, right? And in the City Council last week's meeting, there was 30 members meant to be there, 32. When a very serious issue of bodies decomposing in Waterford came up for discussion, 15 of those weren't in the chamber. There was only 2 Fine Gaelers, and that's disgraceful that these guys can go on junkets up to the north and junkets here and there.
I'll let
and
you come
can't
in,
run
Ronan,
up-
a second.
and
John,
they
I
can't
have
turn up for
to,
work
John, I
in
have
the
to give you a
chamber.
right to reply on that.
Yeah, Yeah, well, look, I was one that wasn't in attendance. I had an appointment at 3 o'clock. The meetings are always at 5 p.m. in the day, and it was moved to during the day, and I had given my apologies for that. I'm also a full-time teacher as well,
Absolutely.
a part-time teacher in St. Paul's Community College. So, look, there are major issues there. I'm not going to try and shy away from them, particularly in relation to the mortuary issue. The Taoiseach was wrong in the comments that he made. He shouldn't have come out and made any comments until he had the full facts. I think he would acknowledge that now in hindsight. I have great admiration for the pathologists that came out in the media and our local journalists that broadcast the story, and it was very important. And thankfully now we have moved to a stage that mortuary is going to go to construction by the end of the year. And that's the only positive that you can take from a terrible story.
Have you a big problem with Sinn Féin?
No, I don't, and John would say it himself, I've worked extensively with him on a vast array of issues across this community. I have family and cousins that live in this area. John does great work, all councillors in the area do work, but broadly at a local level, across parties, we work together for the betterment of Waterford City and County, and that's something that I will want to continue if I'm re-elected.
Susan, I'll bring you in a second. Ronan, they're doing a great job.
Well, locally, they might be trying their hardest, but I suppose the comments of Leo Varadkar regards the pathology lab are a sign of a greater malaise in Irish politics. He's up there in Dublin in his ivory tower with Simon Harris, and they
He did apologise. He apologised, and the lads are admitting that he got it wrong.
But like he makes repeated mistakes where he either says things that he actually later regrets and he has to apologise, or he doesn't say things at all. I mean, like the 24/7 cardiac care matter continuing on year in, year out is completely unacceptable. They're putting €1 billion in the National Children's Hospital overspend in Dublin now at the moment, and it would cost us €5 million per year to run out cardiac care services. This is a complete mismanagement of funds, and effectively we have to take but we can put pressure as county councillors.
This is a local election. The lads are saying.
I know that, but if you just let me finish, John, we can take the Andy Dufresne sort of view on these sort of things. In the Shawshank Redemption, that individual, he wrote letter after letter after letter until he got what he wanted. And that is what I propose the county councillors should do in this election. We have to all come together and demand...
Write long letters.
No, write long letters and then escalate this matter, because this has actually come down to 1 minute to midnight. We are losing people because of this issue, and we actually have to go up a level with regards to escalating this matter and get 24/7, because we are as much Irish citizens as the people in Dublin.
Okay, I know.
I don't find anyone that disagrees with the point that you made, but this is a local election about electing local people to the local council for the next 5 years. We have some very important decisions to make in relation to a development plan over the next 5 years that will change and shape the face of Waterford. And we need experienced people on the council.
I got to bring Susan in there.
Plan.
Susan, what do you think about this row that's going on in front of you?
Well, Leo Varadkar made some serious mistakes. He's apologised, and that's a national issue. We need to focus on what's local. We do need to keep fighting for the hospital. The members of the Oireachtas seem to be reaching out to one another. It seems to me that Waterford councillors are speaking up quite a lot about this, but there possibly needs to be more cooperation for other counties in the southeast, because it is a hospital for the southeast. So that's one thing that we can do locally, rather than
because
a national issue.
John,
just on a huge local issue, I just met another lady there whose boiler's broken down, and there's another lad come in. I told him I was onto the maintenance department this morning. The boilers have been broken down. Hundreds of boilers in this city have been broken down for weeks and months, and it's an ideological problem we have with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, that they have to outsource the work. So it takes 3 weeks from the time they identify the problem.
but you were on the council, you were mayor for a while. What did you do about it?
No, we've been fighting this case all the time, because even if you look at it takes 3 weeks to even get a contract back in. So it takes 3 weeks, and then they go off and fix it. So all people are called, but there's another huge issue.
Just on that.
There was 56 local builders we let go and gave the contract to Newry. And all that the council had to do was take on a few people full-time that they could go out and maintain the work that needs to be done.
John Cummins, you have an ideological problem with boilers.
Well,
What have you got against boilers?
No, I have nothing against boilers. I hear the point that John is making, but ultimately it is the decision of each member of Waterford City and County Council to bring in a budget every year in November of that year in order to provide services like what is being mentioned across boilers, heating, lighting. There has been an issue in relation to contractors not getting in their health and safety statements and the likes of that, which every councillor, bar none, has brought up at council, and it is wrong, and it must be turned around quicker. And the best way of being able to do that is that we're able to bundle those together, and we don't have to go out for a tender on every little Mickey Mouse job. Whereas if there's a framework in place where if a boiler is needed,
Don't anymore. That's the problem.
well, let's provide the money for it then, John, in this
Absolutely.
year's budget.
But you even
John
see,
Clear-
even
okay,
to fix the
hold on a
lights,
second, John.
and the main lights coming up the Cork Road, they've been out for months at one stage, because we used to get the electricians from up in Grey Stew to come down and fix it at the ESB. Now it takes them weeks to come up from Cork. More local work outsourced by Fein and Gael and
Ronan,
Fianna Fáil.
That's not the case.
Ronan Cleary, Aontu, you generalise, you make big points about national issues, you're not rooted in local stuff. The lads are complaining that you're making points, but you don't really have the answers to local solutions.
No, well, I don't think that's correct,
Local
because
problems.
24/7 is a local problem. It's a local problem for the Waterford City and the 500,000 people in the southeast. And I think they're underselling themselves as councillors as to the power that they have with regards to imposing themselves onto
They're
national
doing
government.
everything. They can't
But
bring
also-
24/7.
We need a directly elected mayor.
No, okay, and just we were going on about more local issues. Well,
Are you in favour of directly to Mayor Ronan?
Am I in favour of the directly elected mayor? Well, I'm in favour of anything that brings democracy closer to the people.
Yes or no?
Well, I suppose if you could put it down to yes and no, I suppose yes, but I want them very much accountable. But I suppose an issue that I would have is about affordable housing. I was canvassing in Ballybeg last week, and there was a pub that was burnt down 10 years ago, Ryan's, next to St Saviour's Church. Now that had a chance to be primed redevelopment by the council. They let it go to a private investor for €50,000, whereas that could have been put as single unit developments for older people who could vacate 3-bedroom houses to families in the locality. Now that's very much a local issue, and why didn't the county council do that?
Okay, and I know some of the lads raised it. Susan, are you in favour of directly elected mayor or not? Green Party?
Broadly, yes. I think it'll increase democracy, gives us a chance to have our say in who our mayor is. I have some concerns. For example, I'd be worried that there might be a bit of a tendency to focus on short-term projects, whereas some of the projects need more strategic thinking, but I will be voting yes.
John Cummins, in favour of directly elected mayor?
Yes, I'm in favour of a directly elected mayor. I've heard people over many years say that the way that we elect our mayors is undemocratic. I don't necessarily agree with that, but what I do agree with is anything that brings democracy closer to the people, like what Ronan has just said there, I'm in favour of it. I think that person will be a strong voice for Waterford. I think it would be essentially akin to having a permanent minister for Waterford, and I think that would be a good thing.
John Hearne, Sinn Féin are in favour of this. You're on the same side as Fine Gael. It's great to see you holding hands on this.
No, what's good for
You're holding
Waterford-
hands on this.
Waterford. No, I'll tell you another time we did agree. When we brought in the Dahan system, Sinn Féin, I'd phoned John. We agreed to bring in the Dahan system to give it a more democratic base as mayors. We agreed. So after Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael got one each, Fianna Fáil came in and decided they wanted to take another mayor, which broke the agreement. So you need a directly elected mayor for the very simple reason. The old boys club, where old boys go into the back room in the Munster bar and decide who gets the 55 grand. It's time to kick over the table. Let the people have a voice. Let them direct their own mayor, and you'll have a
Yeah,
full
but you
time.
were mayor. Is that how it happened when you were elected?
Not at all. We agreed under the Hans system, myself and John, that we divided out. So even when we agreed, we gave 2 seats over to the independents, even though they didn't support us, to make it democratic.
Okay. John Cummins, I got to leave it there. Sitting Fine Gael councillor, Green Party, Susan Gallagher, candidate, Ronan Cleary, candidate for Aontu. Best of luck. John Hearne, sitting Sinn Féin councillor.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We're back with a lot more. We've got some fabulous music to end our Friday and lead us into the weekend.